So what we're going to share, we talk do a little and about commerce and how you could increase engagement with using SMS, a little bit about customer journey and focus on e-com, and also give some live customer cases. And then we're going to have the Q&A session in the end. So everything is about engagement and how can you make engagement with the customers, and we believe that mobile messaging is a great way to engage customers. So just a little bit before we get into that, I just want to give a little bit introduction about our company. We are the leading European company when it comes to mobile messaging. Even though we are European, we have global reach for our services. So that means you could use our service to reach anybody with a mobile phone all over the world. So we serve 33,000 customers across the globe, and we send more than 10 billion messages each year. Most of them are SMS, but we also serve other channels like Viber and the popular channel WhatsApp. So today we're going to talk about messaging, and as I see messaging, that has become an important part of modern communication. We live in an age of instant and fast and personalized conversations. So messaging is not a fad, it's here, it's now, and it is global, and it is at massive scale. This is where people spend most of their time keeping in touch and reaching out. It's replacing other forms of communication and transforming the very nature of daily communication for billions of people around the world. So messaging has become the home screen of the majority of mobile users. So, for example, if you have anyone you have in, if anybody have teenager in the house, you would know because they have their nose into a messaging app the whole time and chatting with their friends. But this is also affecting how we as person want to communicate with businesses. So the experience that brands provide matters a great deal to customers. In fact, based on a consumer survey that WhatsApp provided, they conducted globally, could see that 89% of people expect a brand to respond with them within 24 hours. And it doesn't help then if you are emailing a Gmail or a Hotmail that nobody is looking at 24/7. And 80% of consumers says that the experience a business provides when it comes to communication and customer care is as crucial as the goods or the services. And 50% of the surveyed customers have actually switched to a competitor or brand because of the poor communication and the poor customer service. Which means, in fact, that there is a massive opportunity and potential for great rewards for businesses if they invest in creating a smoother customer journey through messaging. And we've put this into a context of online shopping and e-commerce. We can see that messaging has allowed and forming and keeping connection to become easier than ever. The same factor that have made keeping in touch with friends and family seamless and have also been helped to bridge this, the lack of the communication on emails on phone over to people and business. In the current advertising landscape, messaging has become a way for people to cut through the noise and communicate directly and efficiently with businesses. We see people turning to messaging across the entire customer journey. Last year, WhatsApp commissioned a research study to understand the behaviors of daily messaging apps user and what they could see across Brazil, Britain, India, and the US. They identified a constant pattern. The majority of people use messaging in every part of the journey, from making inquiries and getting products and also customer support. So across the entire path of this customer journey, the significant majority of daily active users were directly engaged in messaging with the business. And as well, this engagement leads to a significant preference where the user, they preference messaging over traditional form of communication like email or calls.
Hey, Gero, on that previous slide, is it, I can just say from experience that I have a lot of different stores that I deal with, and the messaging that I get on email compared to SMS, I'm always more likely to respond to the SMS messaging for that store. Is there specific data that we can talk about, maybe even in Q&A, about how much more effective SMS is to email? Or are you?
Yeah, and we have some stats to that, and especially when it comes to like opening rates and reach. So you could also, I think one factor is that a lot of people have 3 emails. You have a working email, and you have a Gmail, and you also have like an old spam email. So it's kind of hard for the business, and then there's a lot of fancy spam filters based on type of machine learning that is really, really hard to reach out to an email to a person. So if you look into the next slide here, this slide is showing that if you compare email and SMS, then you could say that an email and an SMS get open within 3 minutes in average. So you are not even near that number when it comes to email. And also you have a 98% opening rate when it comes to SMS. So you can see that there is a lot of new ways to communicate, but SMS is still the biggest inbox in the world. And you can see everybody with the phone has it, and that's why you could reach anybody as long as you have their phone number. So I would say, like, if you want instant attention, you should choose SMS over an email. And if you need to have more sophisticated, more pictures, more information, you could put a URL into the SMS, and then you could drag the user over to a website. We see that is a really good way to do it. So if you look a little bit into the use case here, Brent, we can see that for e-commerce, they use it for marketing campaigns, loyalty programs, data collection, competition, sign-up service, payment, and also for optimized parcel delivery. That is also very popular.
And Gero, just to confirm, does this SMS data on this screen include the WhatsApp information, or is WhatsApp another avenue that we can pursue on top of SMS?
Yeah, that's another, and I think I think for those markets where WhatsApp is really popular, you will have the same statistics for WhatsApp. So WhatsApp is great, and you could see where WhatsApp is even better than SMS is when you need a quick back and forth conversation with the customer. Then WhatsApp is really great. But for multi brands that is operating a multinational, it is kind of complex because you need to then serve different channels, because it's not every market where WhatsApp is the most popular channel. So that's why we provide both SMS and WhatsApp. But there's another interesting thing into this market, because if you take the next slide here, despite everything that happened in the mobile tech space, then SMS haven't changed really for 20 years. There's no branding, there's no attribute, there's very limited type of buttons or type of live interaction you could do. But that is now changing. So Google is entering the SMS market. So they have created a deal with Android and with a lot of operators and also with players like us. So that means that if you are a brand and you are operating in markets like US, Mexico, France, or Spain, we can offer what we call verified SMS, and this will work for all Android users. And here you could see on the left side, you could see the standard SMS. On the right side, you could see the verified SMS. And here you could see that you could have a sender ID, you have a verified badge on the app header, you have a logo and a description for your business. And then you get the URL, could you have previews, and the business logo and the name is next to the message. So this is creating a better user experience, and it prevents the suspicion of SMS fraud. That is really a problem in some markets. And this is also working from the solution that we are now providing together, Rent. This is working for that solution. So that's really great if you are a customer that is operating in one of those markets that I mentioned.
And yeah, I think this is one of the most important new features that is available for SMS, because I think in some markets, especially in the US, we do get spammed a lot on SMS, and this would ensure that your client as a user or as a merchant, your client is going to see SMS messages that they know are valid. And it's a great feature and something very exciting that's happening even in the Magento space, that users can now get these verified messages. Thank you.
Really, and we also could see that some early data that we have, that the click rates on URL are getting doubled when we use the verified SMS. So I think that's an early sign that also the brands could expect to have better conversion rate on these type of channels. Yeah, so I also think that right now in this this crazy world, I think for everyone it's important to get back to business, and that's more important than ever, because almost everyone have been negatively affected by the COVID, and the future for a lot of us is also a little bit unsecure. So I think with the SMS functionality, you could really reach customer with instant attention, and it gives you a little bit more flexibility. You can start a campaign, you can postpone a campaign really easy. And if you are in need of notifying customers about opening hours, about delayed package delivery, health precautions, or you have to collect data from the customer, the SMS is really, really efficient. So what we could see, for example, for a messaging company like us, our business have been booming these months because people are increasingly needs of a faster and more instant communication tool. So I also will share a little bit about some use cases that could be relevant for e-commerce that are looking for ways to increase sales or market activity. So we have a customer, we have a lot of retail customers. We have the big brands like the Inditex Group, Sarah, Desenguel, but we also have a lot of small local clients across Europe that is using our services. But here, this is like a brand that is Hush Puppies. Is casual footwear for men, women, and children. So their mission was to increase sales and collect customer data. So what they did to send an SMS with a URL to a landing page. So again, that's a good way to do it if you need like more information. So the customers are clicking on the URL and they get asked to tip a friend, and if you tip a friend, the friend will get the coupon with 10%. That could be redeemed. That coupon could be redeemed both online and in the physical stores that they have. And likewise, each user that received the invitation via SMS could also send it to other friends, and both will get the discount. So this is like, it's a pretty classy tip a friend campaign, but since we did it on SMS, that we really got high customer satisfaction rate, and the ROI on the campaign was 456%, and the discounts was also then, of course, giving increased sales in the stores.
Gero, this is a great example of how you can use SMS to drive people to a specific landing page, and especially on their mobile device, have something that they are going to buy at that moment.
Yeah.
And really drive some traffic to that page. And then I think as a follow-up, we are planning in a month or two to have a demo of some of these features that people can see them in action. And we're working on just a regular Magento demo site that we can show you how an SMS would work in real time and how this would work on your store.
Yeah. Really cool. Yeah, and another live use case that we have, this is a brand called Reserve. So this is a customer of ours in Poland. So their obligation here was to get more followers on Facebook and newsletters, which was really to increase their audience. So what we did, we created like this sign up. But everybody who did sign up, so this was like posted on Facebook, they got a discount that they had a 25% discount on the next purchase. So by signing up on Facebook, they got it. So here you can say it's a mix of all the channels, because here they did the commercial on it, they did it on Facebook. But since to receive a coupon on Facebook is not very easy, they asked for the mobile number on Facebook, and the people opted in, and then they got the discount and the coupon also via text and the URL to a landing page that was a unique coupon. So with this campaign, they got 100,000 new followers on Facebook. So that's a great new audience for them. And they got 77,000 new newsletter subscribers, and 37% conversion rate from the coupons. So that was really fantastic.
Gero, can you just kind of speak a little bit about how merchants can enable their clients to opt into the SMS, and is Facebook a good place? Is Twitter a good place? Marketing pages when they sign up? What is sort of the best way for merchants to do that, and maybe what is the best way for them to get started?
I think if you get the attention online, if the customer is seeing you online, like for example on Facebook, or they're seeing an advertise online, then it's just for clicking on it, and then they could sign up with their name and their mobile number, for example. But if the person are in store, if the activity are in store, then the best way is for them to send an SMS into a short code, and then they're opting in that way. So then So I think those are the best way of doing it, and you should do it differently in store than you are doing it online.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, so maybe we should, maybe Brent, you should talk a little bit about the plugin that we have created. So the Magento community could use this functionality that we've been talking about.
Yeah, so we're very excited about this plugin that we released, and it is available for all versions of Magento 2. And there are many different functionalities that we can leverage from using this plugin. But I think as a minimum, it would allow you to start communicating with your clients over SMS. And correct me if I'm wrong, Guro, but they could also be communicating with WhatsApp to specific clients.
Yeah, so that's going to be, first it's SMS, unverified SMS, we could use that, but then the WhatsApp we're going to do in the next release.
Okay, great, thank you. So this would allow you to build out specific campaigns to drive traffic to your pages. It'll allow you to say, alert your client when an order has been shipped. It will also allow you to have specific opt-in if you wanted to have VIP categories where if you wanted the clients to opt in as a VIP member, it's a good way to create smaller groups or exclusive groups that would be alerted to specific items that you have for sale. And let's just say even that you have limited amount of items where you know that those items are going to sell out completely. This would be a way for you to create groups of people to market on specific campaigns where you want to give the sense of urgency that this item is only going to be there for a certain amount of time. We've also seen clients use this type of feature in flash sales, where the sale is only available, and you can use the feature to alert clients that the sale has started. We have a specific client that runs flash sales that go by the hour, and then a new flash sale starts in the next hour. So if you wanted to go down as much as to say the flash sales are starting today, here's a list, or if they wanted to opt into a specific sale, that would be a possibility that we could be doing for you on some of these things. I think really, if you look at it, whatever could be done in the past as email, we could do in the future as SMS. Some of the items won't work out of the box, but just like any marketing feature that we want to expand on in Magento, we can expand on this module to give you exactly what you want on the Magento side. So the beauty of Magento is that it is open source, and it allows us to connect the link mobility module or the link mobility functionality for SMS into other parts of Magento, and would also allow us to link into a specific marketing feature that you have that we may not know about. So it would allow us to connect your even country-specific marketing item to link mobility. And then if your typical out of the box marketing feature connects with a user on email, we could convert that to connecting to the user on SMS. And I know from specific examples, Wagento is very active in the emerging markets. So South America is one of our larger markets that we are active in. A lot of users in South America don't always use email as their primary means of communicating, and SMS is going to become more and more important as we move forward to make sure that you're communicating with the client, but also making sure that the client is updated on things that may happen within their account. Gira, do you have any information or any feedback on how SMS versus email is happening in some of the emerging markets, even markets, even some of the emerging established, like say India or
yeah, so I think what I could say about these markets, these are like of course, if you look into Mexico, you look into Brazil, you look into India, if you look at the global number of messages, SMS sent from business to person, these are markets that is the biggest, one of the biggest drivers when you look at total messages sent divided per capita. So definitely, these are very, very popular SMS markets. And the background could be that from before that people didn't have their own laptop, but and that's why the email wasn't that much accessible. But now everybody got a smartphone, right? So, but I think it's just a faster and a better way of communication. So definitely, if you are in these markets, I think SMS is a must.
Yeah, and I think as we're seeing mobile take over on the desktop market, and I think in a lot of markets, certainly mobile purchases now have outstripped the desktop purchases. Those are going to be specifically, this is where SMS is going to be really a great place to focus on as a merchant.
Yeah.
There was one question that came in about the 90% of SMSs are opened in the first 3 minutes. Can we, I guess one thing we're going to do is share some of where we got our information after the webinar, but can you just talk about that a little bit on how important that is and maybe where some of that information came from?
Yeah, so this information, it came from Google. So this was the background before Google created the verified SMS. So that's where I'm pretty confident on that number. And this came from that you look into how because you cannot know when you're sending SMS if it's read. So this is test done with sending a URL, because that's actually when you would know that it's read. So you know a user, what you would know when you're sending an SMS is that it's received by the phone. But when you compare to email, you know, an SMS doesn't have all these spam filters. It doesn't have all the noise that you have on the email. And also, you don't get that instant attention from the user. You could just imagine yourself when you are on the phone, how if you get an email on your private email, what's the average opening rate? And if you look at to what it is on SMS, then I think most of us will have the same type of statistics from your personal use.
Right, and that I think Google is really in the forefront in driving some of that innovation. Certainly, we're working with progressive web apps that are focused on mobile, and I think that if we're looking at what Google does and is doing in the markets, SMS just becomes more important. And I think that feature, verified SMS, and there was, Gira, a question that came in that the verified SMS is available in the Magento plugin. That's correct, right?
Yes, that's correct. So that's available, but you have to, when you sign up on the plugin, we have to register you on our Google agent. So it's just, it's pretty straightforward. You have to confirm in an email that we could do that on behalf of your brand. So we just need some very generic information about the brand, and then you need as a brand to verify that email, and then this will then we will fix everything on the back side. So when you are then using Magento, you are using the Magento plugin, then this will automatically become verified on the mobile phone from the end user. But you have to be aware that this only works for Android phones. And it's not in every market yet, but Google's plan is to launch this in all markets, but they need to get the operators on board. And that's why we are now only focusing on the market where we have the highest reach for this. And I can repeat that. That is US, that is Mexico, and also now France and Spain is upcoming.
Right, okay. So I think that you just kind of hinted at what is our next topic going to be. It will be a demo of how this verified SMS will work, and we could even walk through that in Magento in a demo store, which could be kind of exciting to see how that works. One other anonymous question that came in, and I answered it, but I just want to confirm I'm correct. The limit on SMS characters is still 160?
Yeah, that's true. So that means like you could send a much longer message, but the limit is to that you will be invoiced. So the invoicing is counting for 160 characters. So if you are sending a long SMS, it's just going to be more expensive, but it will on the phone, as long as you don't live in South Korea, on the phone, because that's a country where the operator doesn't support it. But then the message will be one message on the handset. So you can send long messages, but it's just going to be more expensive.
That's great, yeah, and that is a good point, that the merchant, you as a merchant would be paying for each of the messages, and that we don't want to get into costs right now, but it's not that expensive. So. And I think the ROI on top of that is going to certainly help pay for any costs there would be around SMS sending. There was a question that came in about volume, how many messages can be sent in an hour?
No, so we support, you could see now that, for example, with the COVID-19, we do send message to a total country. Like we could do 10 million messages. So I think for this context, volume will never be a problem. So you can, I think that we could say that we could do, at least we could do a couple millions in an hour. But if you need higher capacity, you could just let us know, and we will open up and let things pass even faster. But if you're going to send more than that, I think you should just give us a little heads up before.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, 1 million in an hour is a lot of messages. So that should bring you some really good traffic. Another question about using toll-free numbers in the US. Can you just speak to that quickly?
Yeah. So before in the US, you needed to have a short code. So that was kind of expensive for a lot of smaller brands. But now you could use a toll-free number. So that means that we have a number range that we could that you could get access to your own number, or you are renting a number from us. Or if you have a toll-free number from before, we could help you to make SMS accessible on that toll-free number. So this change in the US market is making it more easy for smaller brands to use SMS. And that's why we also see that the US market, the SMS, total SMS market in the US are actually now really growing.
Great. So for a real world application, that means that people could be they could send a message to your customer service via a toll-free number, and they could be getting responses instead of just sending an email and hoping somebody answers that email and responds, which
Yeah.
I think that according to all the statistics, that would show that the customer service done on SMS is going to happen much quicker than it would be done on typical email, and maybe even more convenient for a lot of users than even a phone call.
Yeah, for sure. And also if the number is already communicated out in the brand, like for as a customer service number, then it's also easy then to remember for the user. I think you use the same number for texting. But I think the biggest change here is for the smaller brands, that before they have to do like €1,000 investments and a high monthly fee to have a short code, and that's really expensive for smaller brands. But now they could get it really quick up, and it doesn't cost much at all, and they can start texting from a new number. If they don't have any number from before, they could get a number from us and they can just start.
Yeah, and just in case everybody's not aware what a short code is, that would be that number, a shorter number that you could text to, that would allow you to register or to get information back or even talk to customer service. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you have this this I think in US, I think it's 5 digits, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so this is a number that is specifically owned by the brand, which should create awareness, and that you could go back and legally see who owns it. Yeah, so this is a number that will work to have like a two-way dialogue, but the same functionality you can now use on a toll-free number.
Okay, great. Yeah. And so I think that's something exciting, because there are both community users on Magento as well as enterprise users. And so
Yep.
this sort of levels the playing field between the larger users or brands that would have a larger budget, and smaller users that would be able to interact with their clients at a much more reasonable rate.
Yes, definitely. So we will support both, and we will also do that for all other countries, because you have other countries have similar or setup, but in a lot of countries, other countries, you could actually use your brand as the sender. So then you will have what we call an alpha sender. So if your brand is like a hairdresser, a beauty salon, you could use that as the sender ID. So this is different in each country, but this is our expertise, and we will help any Magento user. We will help them to provide the best setup and guide you through based on what markets you are sending, what type of volume, and the use case. And then we will jointly with Magento help you to get the best setup for your campaign or your needs for communication.
Yeah, and I mean that's a really good that's a good point to make, that this works in nearly every country, and it will allow you, just like Magento works all over the world, the Link Mobility SMS module will work with the majority of the countries. And perhaps we could share a list after the call in the show notes on those countries that you are available in.
You can say that we can reach every country in the world. You can, but there's some countries that is a little bit more difficult than others. That it just we need a little bit more time for the setup. But it is global accessible, and if you want a message in Syria and Afghanistan and North Korea, we will make it happen. But it's just going to be a little bit. We just need some extra days on the setup.
Yeah, okay. I do give a presentation on customer service in North Korea, so I know that customer service is probably very difficult in North Korea.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's good to know that we can start marketing there at some time in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe there's not going to be a big demand, but that's great to know that it will work across the world. And I guess, we don't have a lot of time left, but I think that it does show that how this would, this is something that's common to everybody that's using a mobile phone. And I know, speaking like in Africa, it's very popular to pay for things on your mobile phone and send money over your mobile phone. So I think people are more used to using this type of service rather than email. Can you just quickly speak a little bit to how this will be important as a Magento store owner over emerging markets?
Yeah, I think also it will be a little bit the same what we talked about in South America, that also Africa, this SMS services are really popular. So you could also see that the government are using it a lot. So I think like it's a really quick and a very easy way to communicate with people. But of course, like what you really need to think about, that you need the mobile numbers, because if you don't have the mobile numbers, you will not be able to send the SMS. So I will say, like, whatever country you are in, if you have the mobile number, you should use the SMS channel.
Yeah, and I think that just like you collect emails through your marketing efforts and on your store, as you intake new customers, if you were to ask them, even before you've installed the Link Mobility module, start asking your customers for their mobile number, and you could ask them to opt in on that mobile number, which would then allow you to install Link Mobility and already have a list of users that you could start sending to. Well, Madeline has told me that there's no more questions. So I think this has been really good, Gero, and I really appreciate the time here. I think we're going to have another similar webinar, but we'll go into more of a use case and show people how well it works. And I know that we've had a lot of very popular talks around how it works and showing people how easy it is to send a message and get a response.
Yeah, I think definitely we should do that next time. So we could show it live, and then also we could show the Google verified SMS live, so people could see the difference between SMS and when it's a verified Google SMS. So I think yes, for sure, let's do that the next webinar.
All right, and just to confirm, you said verified SMS is available in the US and Mexico right now?
Yeah, it is.
Great. All right, so if you speak English and Spanish in North America, it's perfect, but it's going to be rolling out to more of the world, right?
Yeah, it's going to be, it is also available in France and in Spain, but to a little bit smaller population, but yeah. But
perfect.
we will, this will go market by market. So if some of you guys here are getting started in a month, maybe we have also already then have more markets available.
All right, good. Yeah, so I think that's exciting. And is there anything else you wanted to talk about today, Gero?
No, I think we went through the most important.
Sorry to interrupt. Just from my side, I would like to add that this extension comes out free of charge. We want to support businesses to use messaging on their communication layer with clients. Of course, each user will have to pay per SMS regarding what volumes they are sending. They will be charged according to which country they send the SMS. And of course, if they need any kind of support regarding their Magento setup, they can speak directly with Magento.
Yeah, and we will be publishing the links after this. We will have a full recording that's available, as well as our contact information. So you will be able to contact both Wagento for anything you need around making sure that the Link Mobility module works on your Magento store, as well as Link Mobility to make sure that your service is working the way you'd like to see it working. All right, so skål, everyone.
Skål, everyone. That's cheers in Norwegian.
Yes. Thank you, and I hope everybody has a great week. And I look forward to publishing the recording after, and our next webinar that we'll set a date very soon.
Yes, we will. Thank you,
Thanks
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.